Hi, Sandra. Hi, Elaine. All right. I'll just wait another moment till it's 7:30. Almost is. Hi, Patty. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for being here. Monty. Hi. Oh, I miss you guys. Miss our Saturday Sangha. I'm starting to figure out as Ontario is going into stage 3 and what that means and what's the best use of my time and energy in teaching. And yeah, I really miss being with folks in person. Hi, Natalie. Yeah, so I'm thinking about, but I also really appreciate this so that people like Elaine and Sandra can be with us, even though they're up at their cottage or in Toronto or wherever other people are tuning in from. Yeah, yeah, the river and the forest. So I'm thinking about, I'm talking to, TNI people about teaching at the Yurt studio again. So for people that don't know, we have a place that we share with community, a yurt in the forest by the river where we practice together. And of course, haven't been in this time. So I'm thinking about seeing if I can teach there and record it and then upload it to YouTube. So might work out that way because I can't live stream from there because we have not useless, but I can't. The Wi-Fi doesn't work well enough from there. Okay, so welcome. I was talking with a friend this morning about how hard it is for me, and also they were sharing to meditate, to practice in front of a computer. And I totally agree, especially for those of us who use, whether you're on your phone or your iPad or a computer, especially if you're sighted, there's a tendency to open other tabs or, check our messages or multitask in this way. Hi, Terry. And so if that's a challenge for you, it encouragement, because it's hard to hear the Dharma, hear the teachings, hear the practice, and it's definitely hard to do the practice if your hands are busy multitasking or your eyes are busy multitasking or your ears are busy multitasking. So encouragement to hopefully support your practice and your presence here to put down other distractions. But I know that some of you also knit as part of your meditation practice and listening to a Dharma talk, and I think that's fine. If what you're doing supports your being present, then of course no problem. If it distracts, then maybe set it aside. All right. So been having lots of conversations with friends and family and just paying attention, inner conversations, feeling this ongoing, at times there's waves of it, but I don't want to use this word lightly, because I know some people truly, deeply suffer with depression. So I'm not meaning to minimize that. But yeah, over these weeks and days, I've been saying this feels like depression, like just really sad, overwhelmed, despairing at the duality that is just becoming so exacerbated in our world. And sometimes I have more energy for it and other times less. And I'm learning to respect that and kind of come and go with what I can do and what I can't do. But this talk is somewhat extending out from that experience of trying to navigate this and to be skillful with this duality of right and wrong. And, all lives matter, Black lives matter. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. It's all a grand scheme to who knows what, but all of the schemes, or it isn't. Uh, this is my country, my house, my stuff, and not yours, mine and yours. Fake news, true news, or real news, whatever that might be these days. And so, we could go on and on with listing the dualities of that are really just coming to the boil. And so much of our current struggles in this way that I'm talking about are fueled and created by identification with a view, with taking up a view of I'm seeing this clearly and you're not. There's so much of this, and then we get called sheeple, or conspiracy theorists, or all the name calling of categorizing each other, and not at all able to have a conversation and hear each other. And this is fueled by, created by, and then fueled by clinging to identification with a view, my view. And when we do that, of course, it's creating me, self. And in this whole process, it's painful. There's suffering, a great deal of suffering, a great deal of separation, isolation, anger, judgment. So I think for me, it feels this way, and I'm not sure how it is for you. I'd be happy to hear how it is for you, if this is also your sense of this is very painful, this clinging to view. And so this kind of led me into this exploration around the Four Noble Truths, which are usually said this way: the Four Noble Truths, which are part of, which are the kind of it is this path that when the Buddha awoke to realized and understood these four teachings, these four experiences, these four knowings, that was what's called his awakening. And then he spent, 3 months, I think, just practicing after that awakening, and then he was called to teach. So when he went to teach, his first talk, or sermon it's sometimes called, was given to 5 monks that were practicing in Deer Park, in a park, renunciates, very much renunciates, who he had practiced and studied with before, practiced with really, not studied with so much as, and there were very, very severe ascetic practices, very severe limiting austerities, that's the word I was looking for, austerities of the body. And then when the Buddha began the middle path, they kind of abandoned the Buddha and said he because he started eating more food than what they thought was okay to eat, because he found he was going to die. They abandoned him. So these are the first 5 that he went back to and taught his first teaching to. The first, and it's called the first turning of the wheel. This talk, setting the wheel in motion, the wheel of the teachings. It is kind of like a perpetual motion machine. It just keeps turning after this first turning, this first talk that he gave. So what happened in there's a lot of debate among Pali scholars and linguists around this term truth, noble truth, the 4 noble truths as they're called. So I'm going to talk about them, but some of the people that are questioning this term truth have suggested that it in their opinion is, and I'm leaning that way, is that these 4 noble truths are not, there's questioning around whether that's a correct term. That it's not that they're noble truths, it's that they are ennobling. So that's like E-N-N-O-B-L, ennobling. Meaning truth that gives rise to nobility, that gives rise to noble character. And it sounds like a small difference, but it's actually a really big difference. So one of these scholars, Stephen Batchelor, I had a retreat with him a long time ago in England, and he says this: as soon as we bring up this notion of truth, with a big T, we've framed everything within the idea that there is some reality we have to understand. And truths are therefore something that you either understand or don't understand. And this is what I think we see happening so much. Like, you either get what I get or you don't. You either see the world through this view that I'm seeing, or that my YouTube channel stream is telling me, or you don't. And it becomes like a thing that you either understand or don't understand. Whereas what they actually are actions, call to action. The 4 truths, noble truths, as they're traditionally called, when it's presented that way, it just sounds like an idea. It's a truth. It's a thing. Either you buy it or you don't. Either you get it or you don't. Whereas when you read the suttas, they're actually worded as a call, as each one is a different verb. They're actually calls to action. They are not concepts, ideas. There's a wonderful teacher, I don't think I pronounce his name quite properly, but it's Akinchano Weber. Akinchano. That's how you type it anyway. Akincano. And anyways, he became a monk in Ajahn Chah's tradition, and he studied and practiced for 20 years in the forest monasteries of Asia and Europe, and a wonderful teacher. And he says it this way: the truth of the noble ones. So this is that part where it becomes ennobling rather than noble. He says, engaging with these truths or practices or themes is an ennobling pursuit. Yeah, so that's pointing to it being practices, engaging with them. And in this way, when we live this way, when we engage with them, it becomes ennobling, giving rise to skillful, noble actions and speech. And you may have noticed, I noticed within myself when I'm not practicing from this place and I get into this dualistic thing of I'm right, you're wrong, there's not much noble about it. I'm working really hard at that. I'm trying really hard to be more inquisitive and ask questions and understand, and then also say, and there's this point of view, and see if I can have more dialogues that way. It's really hard. So why the Alice in Wonderland? So if folks didn't see it in the kind of posts on social media, I was saying Alice in Wonderland and the Four Noble Truths. And this comes from something that Akinchano Weber shared from another monk, Nanavera Thera, Thera. Anyways, so this monk, he was an English monk who served in the war, and then after the war went to, I think, Sri Lanka, yeah, and lived like a hermit and practiced. And so the Alice in Wonderland connection comes from a letter that he wrote to one of his supporters. So monastics and Dharma teachers in the West are supported through this tradition of dana, donations. So thank you all for your support that you've given me to continue in this way. And so one of this monk's supporters, he was writing a letter to them. And in this letter, he gave this helpful analogy of these four truths through Alice in Wonderland. And in his story, it's kind of a side note. It's not a big embellishment or talk about it. But if you don't know the book, the book and subsequent movie of Alice in Wonderland, well, I can't give a synopsis of that. But anyways, she finds these bottles on this epic journey she goes on, various bottles with different substances in them. And on the label of the bottle, it doesn't describe what's inside the bottle. It doesn't give, the thought or the idea of what it is. what it says on the tag, on the label of the bottle, is drink me. It has this instruction of what to do with this medicine, um, whether or not you think of it as medicine. But and then various things happen to her as a result of drinking these potions. She shrinks to go through a keyhole, and then gets larger to, all these things that happen. First she gets big. Um, and so he shared this analogy of the bottles and the label with the Four Noble Truths, that they're not just a description of how things are. They're just not an idea, a concept of what these ingredients are, but they're actual calls to action. Yeah, maybe not to drink me, but we'll talk about what they are. Okay. So it's not a belief, a noun, a thing, these truths, but are more like verbs, which might not be how we think of them. So when the Buddha starts this talk, he's gone back to meet with the 5 monks that he was practicing with in the forest, and then they abandoned him or told him to get lost, that he had abandoned the way that they thought was true and right. And he went back and said, I have this realization, hear me out. And eventually they did. And so he says to them, monks or bhikkhus, these 2 extremes ought not to be practiced by one who has gone forth from the household life. So a monastics, they've left household life, renunciates, and he's talking about these 2 extremes. Which 2 extremes? He says, there is addiction to indulgence, to sense pleasures, which is low, coarse, the way of ordinary people, unworthy and unprofitable. And this was the life that the Buddha had been born into and left as he went on his journey. And then he says the other way, there's these 2 ways. One is this indulgence. The other way, he says, there is addiction to self-mortification, which is painful, unworthy, and unprofitable. And this self-mortification is what these 5 monks were practicing, and they thought this was the way to liberation. So this was pretty not what they wanted to hear, that they were being compared to the same type of addiction and indulgence. He goes on to say, avoiding these 2 extremes, again, this is that duality, avoiding these 2 extremes. The Tathagata, which means the one that's gone, or the awakened one, he's talking about himself, the one who has awoken, has realized the middle path. The middle path that gives vision, gives knowledge, leads to calm and insight, to enlightenment, and to nibbana. If you're interested in nibbana, I think the last talk I gave was on nibbana on Saturday. I don't remember. Once they're done, I forget. What did I talk about? Pretty sure that's what it was. So you can look if you're interested to understand more about nibbana, liberation. You can check that out on this channel. Okay. So let's get to these 4 noble truths, 4 ennobling truths. Which, so if we were looking at it like Alice, one of the bottles in Alice in Wonderland, the first one that we pick up, the tag of it, might read, understand me, rather than drink me. The first one of these ennobling truths would say, understand me. This is the verb, this is the action. It's not just an idea to be known, it's to be understood. So, Stephen Batchelor says it's to be embraced, to embrace the understanding, the ennobling truth of suffering. in the suttas, it says it's to be fully realized, it is to be comprehended. So so I'll put here, the first one is to understand me in Alice in Wonderland language. That's not from the suttas, but in the suttas it does say to be comprehended, to be fully realized, understood. Okay, so this first one that is to be understood is, if we think of it as medicine, we can use this kind of medical model, which is often used through the teachings. It's identifying, naming, understanding, knowing that there is suffering, to understand when we are suffering. And it's like when we go to the doctor, we would identify the symptoms. We would talk about what we're feeling. And so it's for us to understand for ourselves, this is painful, this mind state, this physical sensation, this state of heart is painful, is suffering, is hurting. So the first thing is to understand this, to recognize, allow ourselves to just name it, to know, oh, this is suffering. So as I talked about myself in this, this last period of time, these waves of of overwhelm and uncertainty and confusion, grief, sadness, fear, frustration, confusion, and then just to recognize, understand, oh, this is suffering. This is very painful. There's all these layers of experience here. And so this is to be understood. We cannot, this is part of the human condition, unless we're fully liberated. And even then, the Buddha still had pain, and there's still this physical form, this mind and heart that experiences suffering, but it's the suffering of suffering that can end, and that is this path. Oh, I feel like I'm saying a lot of words. I hope this is okay. All right, the second bottle that has a label on it, that has an action on the label, would be to, rather than drink me, might say, give me up. So this is the second ennobling truth. The second one might say, I'll just type it here for folks that are liking to take notes or whatever, because that's how I like to listen to talks. Sometimes. Okay, so what do we need to give up? Not just think about, have an idea about, but actually there's an action here. And so other ways to say this is, this nobling truth is to be eradicated, eliminated, abandoned, given up, let go, abandoned. And in the medical model, that would be seen as the diagnosis, like this is the cause of suffering. So it's understanding, first of all, the first is to understand this is suffering. There's a great deal more we could say about that. The second one is understanding there's a cause for that suffering. That's the diagnosis. When the medicine man of the Buddha, or the doctor in a medical model, sees the underlying cause of what's causing the pain. Yes? So what's causing the pain, the underlying cause, is craving, It's called tanha, which actually means thirst. There's a thirst, there's a wanting, craving, which gives rise to clinging, something else. I don't like how this is. I want it to be some other way. Or things are really pleasant and I want it to stay. Of course, everything's impermanent, nothing stays the same. So in there, that's the cause of the suffering, is the clinging to wanting things to be some other way. Buddha said it this way: it is this craving, thirst, which produces rebecoming. There's that rebecoming. I become me when I want something or want to get rid of something. It's creating me, accompanied by passionate greed and finding fresh delight, now here and now there, naming craving for sense pleasure, craving for existence, and craving for non-existence. Self-annihilation is another part of craving. Wanting to not be anymore is another form of clinging, even though it doesn't feel like it. This should have been 4 talks, not 1 talk. I see this now. So, to summarize again, the first bottle, the first ennobling truth is to be understood. Understand suffering. The second is to be given up. To give up craving, clinging. This is the cause of the suffering. Okay, the third bottle, the third ennobling truth, the tag on it might say, realize me. So the third ennobling truth is to be realized, which means it's to be directly experienced. It's again pointing to this action, this verb quality. In the medical model of this medicine with the tag on it that says realize me, the medicine in this bottle, it is actually the prognosis. So we have, first of all, the symptoms, and then we have the cause, the diagnosis, and then we have the prognosis, diagnosis and prognosis. The prognosis is very good. This is a good prognosis, that it is actually possible to realize, to directly experience this giving up, this letting go, abandoning clinging. So the prognosis is very good, that the cause of suffering can be let go. And it's not just like something for other people. This is something we are meant to do, practice, realize. It's called the complete cessation of that very craving, giving it up, relinquishing it, liberating oneself from it, liberating oneself. So you're letting go of being a self that's getting something, and detaching from this self-identity of view. This fourth ennobling truth, the fourth little bottle in Alice's Wonderland, the tag on it with the action instructions would be develop me. The fourth, this is develop me. So we're meant to cultivate a way of life. it's to be developed, to be brought into being. So in a medical model, that would be the treatment, right? We have the symptoms, we have the diagnosis, the prognosis, which is good, and then we have the treatment. Now it's here where we really take the medicine of this path. This is then what the Buddha taught in this first turning of the wheel, of the middle path between those two extremes, those two addictions, that extreme duality, the middle path. This is to be developed, cultivated constantly, rigorously, vigorously, deep attention, and it encompasses, it's a wide encompassing path. There was somebody that, how did he describe it? Not as a path, but as a, oh, it was good. Wasn't a path. Oh, I can't think of the term he used, but it was, because a path sounds like it's, you know, we have more of a sense of a path that we've been on, and this is more of a endeavor, an endeavor maybe. So it includes, this middle path includes right understanding, seeing clearly, understanding clearly, right speech, wise speech, kind speech, truth, true speech, all of our actions to be non-harming, to renunciate, to let go, non-ill will. It includes right livelihood, how we make our how we support ourselves. If we're, which is very difficult, of course, because not everybody has the freedom of choice of what their livelihood is. But if you're working in your livelihood is one that's causing suffering to other beings, this, of course, is not going to be conducive to you being peaceful and non-harming. And then it also includes the right efforts, which I've included in other talks here. Each of the right efforts, very important part of the practice. Right mindfulness and right concentration. I don't mean right as in wrong, as in the opposite of wrong, because that's what this whole talk is about. But right means to look at the outcome. It means wise, it means wholesome, it means skillful. So all these aspects of the middle path, we need to see the outcome. Is it conducive to creating community? Is it conducive to opening a conversation? Is it conducive to opening my heart to compassion, to suffering? So these four ennobling truths that are the overarching, the whole practice of mindfulness and insight meditation and liberation, awakening, need to be understood, realized, practiced, developed, let go where we're clinging. All of these are actions. And the actions are ennobling. It's by taking these, what are usually called the Four Noble Truths, and really taking them up as actions. And it's in this way that we are ennobled, are the definition in the English Dictionary of ennobling is to lend greater dignity or nobility of character to. So they're dignifying, they're uplifting, nobility of character. So if that was a lot of words, of course. So if you just remember one thing from all of these words is these are calls to action. So we'll practice how to practice with this as calls to action. Here's a few more. No, stop. We have to stop and practice. I can keep going. Okay. These are some questions from Stephen Batchelor around this exploration of ennobling truths. What is it that brings dignity to your life? That's great. Just that. What is it that brings dignity to your life? What speech? What actions? What thoughts? What practice? What is it that allows you to live without regret, without remorse? What is a way of living that is imbued with respect and blamelessness? That's without remorse again. What is a way of living where your mind is actually a friend rather than something that torments you? Really good questions. Okay. These should have been 4 talks, not 1. Maybe we'll just call this an introduction and then I'll go back and break them down. I don't know. We'll see. We're going to do a practice now, and just want to remind folks before, just in case you're signing out before this period ends here, I've put a link at the top of the chat bar here, but if you're not in the chat, you down below the video, there's like a drop-down menu, and you can it'll say see more, and there's a link there for an upcoming retreat that's that I'm offering at the end of this month, July 25th and 26th, through True North Insight. And so you don't have to have any experience with meditation to check out this retreat. And it's obviously a home retreat and an online retreat. And there's 3 practice periods where I will be there on Zoom offering guidance and teaching in the morning, in midday with a guided meditation, and in the evening with a Dharma talk and a practice, like kind of like this is. And in between, you can do what you need to do, or take this as self-retreat if you're able to, and continue the practice through that time. And if you can't be there for all the periods of time, they're listed in the link. You can get more information. It's a sliding scale. And if you can't be there, we're hoping to record them so then you can receive the recording. So I realize people have other commitments and might not be able to attend all the time slots, but still would like to receive the practice. And so they will be recorded and you will receive the recording links, all being well, technology-wise. So please check that out. It's coming up the end of this month, Saturday, Sunday, July 25th, 26th. And I'd love to have you there. It's probably the only retreat I'm going to be offering in this way for a while. So I'd love to have you there. Okay. Let's practice. Practice these 4 ennobling truths. So again, reminder to, there's nothing to see, hear now, to look at on the screen, so you can rest your hands, rest your eyes if you're sighted, and just put down any busyness that's happening for you. And we might start here just by really letting go this, which is this second ennobling truth, is to give up. So just let go of all of these words of mine. Just let them go. Whatever is needed to land and stay will. Trust that. Just let it go. And begin to rest your eyes, rest your hands. Feel any areas of the body that you notice are activated from this talk. So you might need to drop your shoulders, smooth your forehead, and let the jaw be heavy. And settle your attention down fully into the body. Feel the textures, temperatures, pressure of the sensations of the body sitting in this present moment. And if you're in a place that has a lot of sounds happening, just let the sounds, the experience of hearing, be part of what's anchoring you into the present moment. All these vibrations, experience of sound are coming to the body, meeting the body. And for the practice tonight, we can add a little bit of reflection, a little bit of contemplation as we stay centered in the body in this present moment. And just gently feel into any suffering that's standing out for you at this time. Anything that's stressful, painful. You don't have to go for like the biggest one, which is just going to be maybe too difficult to work with. Something that's been troubling the heart, or it could be a physical sensation of pain in the body that's standing out for you in this moment. Or it could be something that feels more global, external of the situation in the world, but stay connected to how this is affecting your heart, body, mind in this present moment. Can be something around aging or sickness or death. Something around not getting what you want, not getting rid of what you don't want. And so here we're practicing with this first ennobling truth that is to be understood. Understand me. This is suffering. This is difficult. This is unwanted. This is painful. And to understand this, we can look even more deeply at the physical sensations of it. You may feel like contraction somewhere in the mind, the heart, or the body. As much as you're able, gently turning towards understanding it, knowing it, feeling it. And then to practice with this second ennobling truth is to see that the cause of the suffering is the clinging to how we want things to be, or the clinging to how we want things not to be. See if you can identify where the clinging is, the clinging to our view of right or wrong. The clinging to our view of truth and not truth. And this is to be abandoned. Given up, let go of. And the third ennobling truth that we can feel into right now in this present moment is to be realized, is to be directly experienced. The moments, the times of letting go, relinquishing, the clinging. When I asked one of my teachers, but how? How do I let it go? Doesn't seem possible. He said, when you really feel, really understand, really know the pain of the holding on, then it will let go. Then you will be able to let it go. Of course, our greatest and deepest clinging is to our view of ourselves. And to understand that if this feels impossible right now, I don't understand. How can I let go? How can this be realized? Know this fourth ennobling truth, that it is a path, a practice to be developed. And you're doing it right now. Paying attention, kind attention, wisdom, clearly seeing and knowing how things are right now. The prognosis is good. It is possible for you right in this very moment to just experience letting go, just sitting, breathing, being, knowing, without any clinging. What is the way of being right now that is ennobling and befriending your heart and mind and body, free of craving for anything else? One of the teachers I was mentioning there, Akanchano Weber, shared something in a talk that was he'd heard from one of his teachers, and they described this, what I'm sharing tonight, in this way. It's like you're locked in a prison cell, and someone gives you a key, and you take the key and put it up on the wall. You hang the key on the wall, and you bow to the key, you pray to the key, you worship the key, you make an altar of the key, you gaze upon it. And this is what we can sometimes do if we think of them as the Four Noble Truths. Take the key off the wall and open the damn door. These are to be utilized to free us, to liberate us. It's to be used, to be developed, to be realized, to be liberated, to be free. Not to have them as noble truths, ennobling, freeing, liberating truths. And just to clarify that when we let go of clinging to all of the things, all of the everythings, this doesn't mean that we don't act in the world, that we don't respond to the suffering. But it is much more skillful, wholesome, wise, conducive to compassion and peace if we do it from a place of non-clinging. Right and wrong, truth, fake news, mine and yours, but from this developing, cultivating this understanding of middle path and wise speech and wise action. So we do definitely need to be, it doesn't mean like no clinging, oh well, there's no right and wrong, whatever. No, that's not what it means. But to be doing this from the place of the path, get the key off the wall and use it in your speech, in your actions, in your thoughts, wise thought. Yeah. So I hope there's something in there for you that feels usable. It's at least something to start really exploring and look more deeply. Find a teacher if you don't have a teacher that's directly helping you, or you don't already have experience of how to develop this. Check out that link for the retreat, please. Share it with people, please. It's a great way, you know, if you think you would never have gone on a meditation retreat or to a retreat center, well, this is a way to check it out, right? To see what it's like to have a bit more continuity of practice over 2 days, as much as you're able to. The schedule is in the link. You can see like what the periods are, but again, there'll be recordings, hopefully, and all that. And it's quite accessible financially as well. And yeah. Thank you for being here. Any questions, any comments? I'll hang out for a bit. Yeah, or any topic suggestions for Saturday? Maybe I should oh, there's so much in that talk, I realized, but oh, flowers. Thank you, Terry. Thanks, Natalie. Thank you, Patty. Yeah, take the key off the wall. Let's get in this practice and yeah. practice these 4 ennobling truths. All right, dear ones, thank you so much for showing up on a beautiful evening, and perhaps I will see you Saturday, all being well. Take care.